Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, your host, yours truly. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments and thank you for all the gratitude. I am so appreciative. To hear success stories is what I look for. I look for success stories. I look for how has this helped you. I look how you came out your situation or some advice that you were giving worked for you on your behalf. And I am so grateful. That makes me want to keep doing what I do when I hear people are getting something out of this. And so I am so appreciative to each and every one of you that share your stories. A lot of times I don't have the opportunity to read long messages in my email, but when you guys send me just a brief note to let me know, because I have hundreds and thousands of emails. Remember, I'm also a private practitioner, so I do have, lawyers and, health companies and, whoever. I have paperwork. So, but when you guys send me like that brief statement, like, hey, this is what happened, I have the opportunity to read it because sometimes I'm reading on my phone too. But when you guys send those long books, I can't read those big old journals, but I appreciate you sharing your stories with me. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much. So today I want to revisit a topic that I've talked about before in my millions of videos that I have on here. I couldn't find it, but I wanted to revisit this because this is something that I deal with in counseling. And those of you that, are mental health practitioners, psychologists, therapists, a lot of times, this is a struggle for, and I'm not going to say a struggle for the therapist, but it's a lot of work because you're having to get people beyond this mindset, because in order to finally, start your healing process from this traumatic event of domestic violence, or in this situation, narcissist abuse, and some people were abused in childhood. So there's a lot of debris, a lot of residue, a lot of obstacles in the mind and the emotions to get them beyond their thought process, because a lot of people have put up shields. A lot of people have, and the term is cognitive dissonance. And, that's a hard thing, especially for therapists, that, you have to be careful. And I think Dr. Ramani talked about it before, that countertransference. When we start experiencing, we feel not the emotions, but something that happens reminds us of maybe some trauma that we've been through. When you have a narcissism session, or if you have clients that have stories similar to yours, a lot of times we're trying to give them information and try to make, sometimes, we try to make them do what we did to get out the situation, or we get frustrated because it's taking so long to get beyond that cognitive dissonance. And a lot of times we're pursuing ourselves. And so it takes a lot of work on the therapist part too, to make sure that they recognize when they're having cognitive not cognitive dissonance, but countertransference. I think that's the one, countertransference. But because of the fact that if we haven't healed appropriately, to our own traumas, we tend to try to fix the traumas in a traumatic environment, meaning in a counseling environment, when people are giving their stories and you're starting to have the feelings that you had before. So counselors, be very, very careful. And especially, you're having to deal with traumatized individuals. They're dealing with cognitive dissonance. And what is cognitive dissonance? So I wrote some notes. I was writing some notes this morning. It took me a few minutes to come on because I wanted to hold the paper up, but I didn't want to hold it up to the camera. So people on podcasts, can't see the paper, but you'll probably hear it as I move it. So let's look at the definition of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, and a medical definition, which actually is a theory created by the psychologist Leon Festinger. And he wrote a book called A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance in 1957, I think it was. But the medical definition is a theory in social psychology, which is referring to a mental conflict that occurs when a person's behavior and beliefs do not align. So it's two contradictory beliefs. And what happens is when you're dealing with people, or even yourselves, this is something that you guys need to be aware of. When I say you guys, I mean us in general, have to be aware of that. How can you get to a place of healing until you begin to recognize what has happened? The most important thing is you have to acknowledge, so I wrote my notes, you have to acknowledge the abuse, and you have to put the accountability back on the abuser. See, a lot of times when you're in these type of situations, they bring up your faults just as well as you're bringing up their faults. It's almost like to overshadow what they're doing. I don't care what you do, abuse is abuse. You see what I mean? Now, Some people become abused. Some victims or survivors have become abusive trying to defend themselves. So your guards are always up. And so sometimes you too begin to sabotage. However, that's not an excuse. Each person is accountable for their actions. You know, when people, when there's an action, people react, but you have to be very careful that you don't react, that you respond. But overall, most people who struggle with this cognitive dissonance find themselves making excuses by saying, well, you know, I can't really point my finger because this is what I do. Well, you know, he or she is like this, but, you know, I have faults too. Well, you know, no relationship is perfect. When you hear people keep making excuses like that and they never put the responsibility of the abuse on the abuser, that means that they're still struggling with cognitive dissonance. Well, you know, I understand what she did, or I understand, you know, but, you know, no one is perfect. Then they pull you into it when no one is perfect. You never had a perfect relationship. Okay, but this conversation is not about me. This conversation is about you. Well, you tell me one relationship that you've been in that didn't have this issue. This is not about me. This is about you. But you see how they shift the focus. They know that there's facts being presented, but a lot of people that are struggling with the cognitive dissonance don't want to hear the facts because it'll change the belief system that they have. And people who have a specific belief system, 9 times out of 10, when you've been in a relationship with a narcissist or even grew up in a family that had narcissistic parents, you have a certain belief, even if it's a dysfunctional belief. And when people begin to impose or present new information to you to show you, you know, that your beliefs, you know, are toxic or could be wrong or dysfunctional, you know, a lot of people reject it because they're struggling with, I know the facts, but my behaviors, or I know the facts, but I'm not really ready to accept. A lot of people are not ready to let go either. Now, another thing is you have to stop making excuses and protecting the abuser, you know. So a lot of people, you still love them. And so you don't want to, they need to go to prison, but you don't want them to go to prison because you love them. And 9 times out of 10, they go to prison, they're going to blame you for all their problems. They're not going to take responsibility. You're the reason why, you're the reason why I'm in jail or in prison. Excuse me, guys. But you're the reason why I'm in jail or why I'm in prison, you know, and it's because of you. And they don't take responsibility that, oh, you shot someone, or hey, you know, you've done this to other people, or hey, you have some DUIs that you haven't paid, or hey, you got some drug charges, or hey, you got caught up, you know, and you were abusing me and you put your hands on me. But by the time they get through talking to you, they've made you feel guilty as if you are responsible for the reason why they're in jail. Well, there's more than just you that they're probably in jail for, or it could be you. But a lot of times what happens is you make excuses and you don't want to accept the facts that they did it to themselves. So you try to protect them as much as you can because you're struggling with, you know that they belong in there, but now you feel guilty because they make you feel guilty. And I'm just using that as an excuse. You got to say it like it is. It is what it is. They are abusive. You put your hands on me. Yes, I may, and see some of you, but I cuss them out or I cuss her out. And so I can see why they would get angry and put their hands on me, or I can see why they went out and cheat. They cheated because, you know, I'm not as pretty as I used to be, or she cheated because, you know, I don't look like I used to look. That's an excuse. Me just saying it on camera is making you making you have second thoughts because some of you recognize what you've been doing. Well, I can understand, you know, I can understand that. I'm sorry. I was watching the email come through, but some of you recognize where the individual has put you in a position where, you just won't backtrack. I'm sorry, but you gotta say it like it is, you know, and just because you've gotten older or just because you've gained weight, some of you have children, age, haven't been injured, that's not an excuse for a person if you have decided to be in a monogamous relationship. And then on top of that, you have to think AIDS and HIV and some of these diseases, they're blind. And they're out there exposing themselves. And a lot of narcissists do not believe in protection. You know, and so a lot of them get STDs and then blame you for getting an STD. Now you're confused, you're being gaslighted because you're trying to figure out, how did I get it if I wasn't doing anything? And they really turn up the heat as if you did it, and you know for a fact that you were not the one out there, but they blame you, they confuse you, they gaslight you, you're confused, and you don't even want to argue anymore. You just accept it. But like I said, once again, in your mind, you just won't accept the facts. The facts are right there in front of you, but you just refuse to accept the facts. And we'll get angry with people when they present the facts to you. Let's see what else. So let's see. These are some of the signs that you're struggling with cognitive dissonance. Always explaining things away. So no matter what they say, no matter what you see, no matter what you're going through with this narcissist, this abuser, you're always trying to explain things away to people. You're always making excuses. You try to hide. You may not pick up the phone to family. You shouldn't even be with this person, but you fell for the Hoover, and now you don't want to talk to people. You become a little aggressive. Now you want to argue with folks and stay out of my business, and it's my relationship, and I don't tell y'all, you don't have to hate on me. And people are looking at you like, we're not arguing with you, you're the only one that's arguing. We don't want that individual over here because they're violent. So now you become angry because if you can't accept who I'm with, but everyone knows that this person is violent. It's just a matter of time that this person may blow up, or they don't want that drama in their home. But you're protecting the abuser and you're explaining things away. Well, he or she has mental health issues, and this is the side effects of a lot of medication. And you got to remember that he or she was abused in childhood. But everybody that's abused in childhood doesn't abuse other people. And most people that abuse other people have been abused themselves. But that's not an excuse, because not everyone that has been abused in childhood abuses other people. So that's explaining things away and making excuses. Always rationalizing and justifying. You notice that you're always rationalizing and justifying something concerning that narcissist, rejecting new information because it conflicts with your existing beliefs. So when people introduce new information, you'll argue, you'll justify, you explain away, you'll talk in circles, and then a lot of people just decide, I'm not going to say anything because you're not ready. And a lot of you are not ready. This is another way where you know that you're dealing with cognitive dissonance. Feeling of discomfort. And sometimes it manifests in your body as chronic pain, flares up in lupus, autoimmune disorder flare-ups, back pain, migraines, feelings of anxiousness, guilt, shame, or avoiding facts and becoming argumentative. And so sometimes you want to be strong, and you think that you've gotten beyond where you should be. You should be further along than what you thought. But if you've been in a relationship for 20, 30, 40 years, it takes a long time. First of all, you have to get out of the situation. So the healing can start once you're out of the situation. But some of you guys are still in the situation. So there's a difference when you're talking about post-traumatic stress, where an incident has happened and you're still reacting, having flashbacks and anxiety and depression. You're still, these are still the results of that traumatic event, as opposed to complex post-traumatic stress, where you continuously are going through the trauma on a daily basis. So you're constantly being triggered. You're constantly in trauma. And so healing can't start while you're still in the situation. Some of you guys, some of you guys have to watch what you say, because I'll never get out of this, and oh my gosh, and I'm so hurt, and it never works for me. Well, when you say something, your mouth is like a compass, and whatever you say is you're gonna start. You believe what you say. I say things like, I'm tired of being broke. I'm not gonna be broke again. I say things like, I'm gonna write this book and I'm gonna finish this book. It gives, because I was military, and in the military, the way we train our soldiers is, either you're going to talk negative and believe what you say, or you're going to talk positive and you're going to talk your way into something. When we did a lot of physical activity or physical training, a lot of times, it's that motivation. We pump the soldiers up. Come on, you can do it. You're not a punk. Come on, soldier. What would I used to say to them? You can't smoke a rock. You can't smoke a rock. You better come on, soldiers. You get them pumped up. It's like an athlete. You get them pumped up, and they'll do things that I remember. Let me tell you this. This is how powerful words are. And you have to be careful how you self-talk yourself, because some of you guys are so hurt and so beat up that everything is woe is me. You're constantly in this victim mentality. Nothing ever works for me. No matter what I do, I can't get any help, and I'm so damaged. And oh my gosh, I'm going to do. Okay, I understand that when you're hurting, but it gets to a point you keep saying it and you perpetually are in this cycle. I don't care how you feel. You speak the opposite to how you feel. When I was in the military, I remember talking to someone, and I just said this nonchalantly. I was stationed in Virginia, and I remember saying, one day, I said, one of the things on my bucket list while I'm in the military is one day I'm going to run a 10-mile run. I said, I'm going to do it just one time. I just want to say that I did it, that I ran a 10-mile run, just one time. How about, like me and my daughter would say, how about? I left there, I think, within that next year, the same year, and got stationed here in the state of Washington at JBLM, Joint Base Lewis McChord, with Fort Lewis. And the unit that I went to, the sergeant major would take all his non-commissioned officers, and once a month, he would run 10 miles. He was a 10-mile runner. And once a month, it was mandatory that all non-commissioned officers, all the leaders within that brigade, we all had to run 10 miles once a month. It just so happened, I had just said that a few weeks ago. Well, I know I just said that. I think it was a few weeks ago that I got stationed there. And then when I got there that first Thursday, I think it was a Thursday or Friday, that first Friday, they were like, oh, by the way, Sergeant Major just does 10-mile runs once a month with all the non-commissioned officers. So my mind was like, oh my God, I done spoke this into existence. I'm not even prepared. When we went, I pumped my head up, and I was with other leaders that were under me. And the first thing I was like, okay, first of all, they're watching me. They don't really know me yet, but they're watching me. And the question was always like, I'm falling out when you fall out. And I said, all right, well then when I fall out to run, you fall out to run. But until then, you stay into the run until I get tired. Now, when I get tired and fall out, you can fall out right along with me. But I had pumped my mind up like these soldiers are watching me now. These leaders are watching me. And these are leaders that I have attained under my leadership. And so they're watching me, the new kid on the block, the new leader, to see what I'm made of. Now, we're running, but he doesn't run very fast. So that was a good thing. We did a 10-mile run, but it wasn't very fast. I was able to keep the momentum up. I was tired, and that second wind hit, but they were watching me, and they were tired. So, of course, I had to talk junk. Oh, you gonna let this old lady beat you, huh? Oh, so you young buck, but y'all gonna let this old lady beat you. So I had to pump myself up, and I'm pumping myself up, and I'm tired. I was tired, y'all. I was tired, but I had to keep pumping myself up. I'm like, don't let me beat you. Don't let this old lady beat you. You better come on. You can't fall out till I fall out. And we made it back. When we made it back, I got into the shower, and that same day, my feet were hurting so bad, and the muscles. Thank God it was Friday. My muscles and my legs were hurting so bad. It took the whole week to recover from that because my feet hurt so bad and my muscles hurt so bad. From that point forward, after that, he didn't do 10-mile runs anymore. So you see how powerful your words are. So even when you're dealing with coming out of these situations, you have to be careful what you say. Either you have to make up your mind. Either I'm going to stay a victim. I'm going to be a perpetual forever victim. And everything that comes in my mouth is, woe is me and I'm so hurt and nothing ever worked. And I came from a bad family. That's most of our stories, honey. That is, y'all don't mind me saying that, right? But that's most of our stories, honey. That's most of our stories. If we sit around, woe is me. No, what are you going to do when life gives you lemons? I know this is so cliche. When life gives you lemons, make lemon hand soap, make lemon lemonade, make lemon meringue pie, child, make lemon earrings, lemon hair wash, lemon fragrance, whatever you can do, take that and use that. But stop being in this victim mentality, because the more you speak it, the more it's like you're in this cycle. And every day you're depressed. And I'm so depressed. And nothing ever works out for me, and I can never get help. You got to be careful what you say, because your words have power. Your words have magnets, and it'll magnetize the wrong people and the wrong things into your court, into your life. So you have to speak positive. I don't care what I'm going through. I am never going to be broke like this again. I don't care what I'm going through. I would never be in a relationship like this again. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to come out of this. And when I come out of this, I'm going to make sure I help as many people as I can. You got to speak positive affirmations in your life. Those are now some people like, speak positive affirmations. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. Now, if that's you, then it's you. You might not be as hyped as I am. But the thing about it is I am beautiful. I am somebody. Sometimes you just have to be just straight, hey girl, or hey dude, and get in the mirror like, girl, let me tell you something. I would never go through something like this again. I would never be in a relationship like this again. Whatever it takes for me to heal, I'm going to stay by myself at this particular time, and I'm going to focus on me. I am worth it. You know what? I'm a jewel. I'm a treasure. And if nobody else recognizes that I'm a jewel and treasure, I know that I'm a jewel and a treasure. I'm more expensive, or I have more value than a Bentley or a Maybach or whatever them cars, the Bugattis. I have more value than that. And so you can't just test drive me. I'm not test drivable. And you have to have an attitude about yourself. You see what I mean? Have an attitude about yourself. And I don't mean in an arrogant way, but that cognitive dissonance is a doozy, because you can tell when you're struggling with it. there are incidences where you guys like co-parent and you have that narcissist show up, and then all of a sudden, you haven't had any back pain all this time, and all of a sudden it feels like your disc has slipped, or you haven't had any problems with lupus or, fibromyalgia or any chronic pain. You haven't had any problems with migraines or muscle aches and everything, and all of a sudden your body starts responding. Now in your mind, you're thinking, no, I'm beyond this, so this can't possibly be true, but your body is telling you that you're stressing, even though your mind may not feel like you're stressing. And then you have to just recognize, what, my body is responding. And you're going to have to be honest with yourself and say, my body is responding. You know what? I'm still not past it. I'm still struggling with. I'm still dealing with. I'm still, you know what I mean? And so you have to be able to confess, even though you may not want to, break that cognitive dissonance and just say, you know what, my body is talking to me, and I recognize I thought I was beyond this. He or she showed up and my body responded. I realize I'm still not beyond it yet. I'm still affected by it. I'm still hurt. Watch how that pain starts kind of easing up some, because of the fact that you're recognizing it and you're addressing it. You see what I mean? Because you got the flare up because of the fact that you were stressing, you were anxious. You still had some problems. You were still hurt, and you were being honest about it. But I just wanted to come on and talk about that really quick. I wanted to revisit that topic. I thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to me. Hopefully this has helped a little bit, giving you guys some better insight, giving you some more information. I always appreciate, if you guys want to listen to me on podcasts, you can go to my main platform, which is Podbean, and you'll find Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. I'm trying to do it simultaneously now. When I record on video, I try to record on podcast at the same time. So those of you that can't really watch the video, you can just go to podcast and listen to the podcast. And so I appreciate my podcast listeners. You can find me on Podbean, which is the main platform, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, and usually it uploads in there where you can go find it. For those of you that have not subscribed, and those of you that are new subscribers, thank you so much. My channel on YouTube is Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You can find me on YouTube, on YouTube, on Instagram, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You can find me on Facebook under Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, and my main kind of Facebook page is Psychological Health Consultants and Services, but I post everything on all the sites. On Instagram, I've been going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram every Sunday. I usually come on about 8-9 o'clock. Right now we're shutting down in Washington again, so I might be able to come on a little earlier on Sundays again. And I usually do live impromptu questions, and I try not to go super deep, because sometimes super deep means I have to go super study a little bit so I can refresh my memory on some things that I talked about. But I'm so thankful that it's helping a lot of you. I have a book. It's called Unmasking the Illusion of Perfection. A lot of that information is right underneath my video on YouTube, and you are welcome. Some of you were trying to order it off of Amazon and Barnes & Noble overseas, and I've run into problems with having the book shipped overseas. So if you go to my main publisher, which is Westbow Press, and order it from there, they will send overseas. You can get it on Kindle or ebook as well on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Also, my big sister's written a book, which is Destiny Man, Qualities to Look For, and she also has a Periscope page. Her name is Kathy Gibson. So if you go on Amazon, look for Destiny Man, Qualities to Look For, Kathy Gibson, and she has a Periscope page, where she comes on Mondays at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And just recently she had her mother, Helen Sadler, Destiny Helper, Apostle Sadler, on, and they talked about forgiveness, rejection, abuse, and hurt. Very powerful, very powerful. And those of you that know my mentor, my spiritual mom, Helen Sadler, Destiny Helper, go to YouTube and make sure you subscribe and share our videos. Somebody needs to hear it. Even if you can't say it, a lot of times when you're with family, you have too much commonality with your family. And remember, they don't want to hear what you got to say. So it's better it coming from someone else than coming from you. And you just share the videos or purchase the book. Christmas is coming up. Use it as a stocking stuffer. Buy the book, put it in there, and give it as a gift. And invite them to the videos. Let me think. Did I miss anything? Oh, those of you that are looking for coaching, thank you so much for trusting me too. Just contact me, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. and I'll provide you with the rates of my services. If you're in the state of Washington, I do provide counseling too. If I have room, my slots fill up very, very, very quickly. So I have my regular clients, my insurance clients that have slots, but a lot of time when it comes to coaching, it fills up very, very quick. So usually when I send out, the invoice, if you don't pay the invoice right then, someone else is waiting for you to pay an invoice and get a slot, because I have a waiting list. And so I appreciate you guys trusting me so much. And also, those of you that are outside the state of Washington, there is a vetted source that I use. Is betterhelp.com/Dr. Carmen. And you click on there, you get a 10% discount. I've heard good things, nothing but good things from a lot of people, maybe one or two negative things because they may have dealt with a counselor that really didn't understand domestic violence or psychological abuse. So when you're vetting these counselors, don't get smart and ask them, do you know narcissist abuse? Ask them if you understand domestic violence. Do they understand psychological abuse? Do they understand parental alienation? Do you understand PTSD or complex PTSD? Ask questions like that. But please click on the link, because some of you guys need counseling and not coaching first. But once again, I am so appreciative. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll be keeping up with you guys for the coming weeks, because we'll be going into our Thanksgiving. And there's a possibility, because I'll be working from home, that if I have availability, I may try to do some lives during the week as we lead up to Thanksgiving, because I will be sitting there watching movies. Lifetime is not as good as it used to be, but I'm going to be watching some movies, honey. So hopefully you guys can join me and I come and talk to you guys live. You guys be on the lookout too, because I'm getting ready to do a Zoom class, hold on, let me think what I was going to call it. It's going to be a Zoom group coaching session. And I wanted to address, going and getting resources and how to articulate yourself and getting resources. Things that keywords and things like that you need to use and not feel guilty about using and getting resources. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. You stay on the lookout for that, and I'll let you know when I'm going to do that. And you guys have a great day and go be great.